All right, so we're looking at this idea that how you feel matters.
Okay.
It's actually the title of a blog post by Reiki expert Bronwen Logan.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and she kind of calls out conventional medicine a little bit for not looking at practices like Reiki for overall well-being. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I think it's important that, we look at things holistically. As a patient, I know that I would appreciate a doctor who is considering my mental and emotional state as well as my physical symptoms. So, yeah, I think that incorporating these practices into, the medical field would just enhance the expertise.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and it's not just like a feel-good thing.
Right.
Bronwen actually highlights research in her blog that shows a link between mental and physical health, and that emotional well-being can even have a small but significant impact on recovery and survival rates for people with physical illnesses.
Right. And she actually cites a study that says that individuals with high levels of well-being have a better chance of both recovering from and surviving illnesses. So, and it's all about, it's that resilience, isn't it? Like not just bouncing back from setbacks, but finding new meaning and purpose, even within the limitations of illness. And this idea is actually central to the recovery model in mental health.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. And she also mentions the Wellness Recovery Action Plan, or WRAP, which I've heard of.
Yeah.
And so she's saying that's being used now to really emphasize well-being as part of that recovery journey. So it's nice to see positive psychology and these recovery approaches kind of making their way into mental health services more and more. But, she doesn't just talk about the good stuff. She also talks about chronic stress and the dangers of it.
Right.
And connects it to all these physical health problems like heart disease, high blood pressure, digestive issues, headaches. I mean, the list goes on and on. Can you kind of break down the science behind that connection for us a little bit?
Sure. Well, when we're stressed, our bodies are just flooded with hormones like cortisol, and when this happens chronically, this can lead to a lot of physical problems like cardiovascular disease. And it can, increase the risk of obesity and even disrupt gut health.
It's kind of scary to think about, right?
Yeah.
Like something that feels so mental and emotional.
Right.
Can have these really tangible physical consequences. It really kind of drives home how connected our mind and body really are.
Absolutely. And, it's not just the direct physical effects, but, stress can also lead to unhealthy behaviors like, overeating, smoking, turning to substances to cope, things like that. And that just further exacerbates the problem.
Yeah. So if stress is so pervasive in modern life, what are some effective ways that we can manage it?
Well, a good way to start is to just make sure you have a good social support network.
Okay.
And also just, getting regular exercise and prioritizing sleep.
Okay.
These are like the foundational practices for stress management.
So this is where it gets really interesting to me.
Okay.
Bronwen dives into some practices that can really help us to feel better. Meditation, physical touch, and chanting.
Yeah.
What does the research say about these practices?
Well, there's a wealth of research that shows that meditation can reduce stress and anxiety by lowering cortisol levels. It can also improve your mood, sleep quality, and even enhance your cognitive skills.
I'd love to hear more about mindfulness meditation specifically.
Okay.
Bronwen kind of calls that out in her blog and talks about how it can give you benefits like lower blood pressure, a stronger immune system, and even better pain management.
Right.
It's really amazing that something as simple as like sitting quietly and focusing on your breath can do all of that.
Right. Well, mindfulness meditation can also be used to treat mental health conditions like depression, substance abuse, anxiety disorders, and OCD. So it really is a very versatile tool for enhancing well-being on multiple levels.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then there's physical touch, which I feel like we often underestimate the power of. Like, a hug or even just like a touch on the arm, it can have a really big impact.
Well, that's because touch acts as a safety signal to our nervous system. So it helps inhibit, the fear and the stress responses, and it allows us to just calm down and reframe our anxious thoughts. It's almost like a reset button for our emotions, reminding us that we're not alone and that we're connected to others.
I love that you said a reset button. That's such a good way to put it. And speaking of connection, let's talk about chanting.
Okay.
I was really intrigued by that when I read this blog post.
Right. Well, chanting has been linked to some remarkable benefits. Studies have shown that it can improve your mood, reduce stress, and enhance overall well-being, particularly during times of heightened global stress.
Wow.
And there's even research that suggests that it can boost cognitive functions, specifically in terms of mindfulness and attention. So it's almost like a workout for the mind and the spirit.
I was reading that it can even have physical effects like slowing down your breathing,
Right.
which then obviously leads to deeper relaxation.
Exactly. And that sense of relaxation can then ripple outwards and positively impact mental health by potentially easing symptoms of anxiety and depression.
So it's amazing to me how these ancient practices are now being backed up by modern science and how they all come back to this central theme that how we feel really matters.
Right. It all comes down to acknowledging the power of our inner experiences and finding ways to cultivate a sense of well-being that extends to every aspect of our lives. So it's about more than just the absence of disease. It's about a state of wholeness and vitality. Well, I think the most important thing to remember is that well-being is a journey and not a destination. It's not about achieving some perfect state of health or happiness, but it's really about continuously tending to our inner garden day after day and season after season.
And it's a journey that's uniquely our own. There's no right or wrong way to do it. As
Exactly.
long as we're kind of moving in the direction of greater self-awareness, self-compassion, and wholeness. What are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely agree. And, along the way, we might just discover that the most beautiful blooms emerge from the most unexpected places. Yeah. It really is a journey of self-discovery. And, speaking of discoveries, I was curious to hear more about your experience with these practices.
Okay.
Have you personally found them beneficial?
Yeah, I have actually. I started incorporating mindfulness meditation into my daily routine a while back, and I've really noticed a difference in how I manage stress. It's definitely not a magic cure-all, but it's become a very valuable tool for me. So, yeah, how about you? Have you had any experiences that really stand out to you?
Yeah, well, I've seen firsthand in my work with clients, people who are struggling with chronic pain, anxiety, even depression, find relief and cultivate a renewed sense of hope through these practices, through meditation and Reiki.
It's incredible how these practices can really give people the power to take an active role in their well-being
Yeah,
instead of just kind of passively hoping that things will change right.
absolutely. And it's more than just managing the symptoms. It's really about addressing those root causes of imbalance and cultivating a deeper connection with yourself.
That reminds me of something that Bronwen said in her blog post about how incorporating well-being practices can actually enhance medical expertise,
Right.
not diminish it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like bridging the gap between conventional medicine and these complementary therapies,
Right.
recognizing that they can all work together to support our overall health and well-being.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, we need to acknowledge that there's more to health than just treating symptoms. It's about addressing the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. And each individual has, their own unique needs and preferences. What works for one person may not work for another.
That's very true. It's about empowering individuals to really take an active role in their health care and work in partnership with their providers to come up with a plan that feels good to them, right? That's aligned with their values and their goals.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about, moving away from that one-size-fits-all approach and embracing a more personalized, holistic model of care. One that really recognizes, that interconnection between our physical, mental, and emotional well-being and empowers individuals to really, tap into their own inner resources for healing and transformation.
It's a powerful vision, isn't it? Like a world where conventional medicine and complementary therapies can work in harmony to support our well-being, where individuals feel empowered to take that active role, and where we all have the opportunity to truly blossom and reach our full potential.
It is. It's a vision worth striding for.
It is.
And I think it all starts with recognizing the power of how we feel. How you feel matters.
It does. It matters more than we think sometimes, I think, right? It matters to our physical health, our mental well-being, our relationships, our work. It's really the foundation upon which everything else is built.
Yeah, it really is. And so as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this question to ponder.
Okay.
How can you cultivate a greater sense of well-being in your own life? What small steps can you take today to nurture your inner garden?
It could be something as simple as, taking a few deep breaths, listening to your favorite music, spending time in nature, or connecting with someone you love. It really doesn't have to be anything big or complicated.
No.
It just has to be something that feeds your soul.
Exactly. And remember, you are the gardener of your own well-being. And you have the power to create a life that feels vibrant, joyful, and fulfilling. So, go out there and start planting those seeds of well-being today.
Until next time, keep cultivating that inner garden of yours. It's about taking those small steps each day to tend to our inner garden.
Yeah. And as you go on that journey, just remember to be kind to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There will be times when things get tough, when stress takes over or you fall back into old habits, and that's totally okay.
Yeah, it's just like gardening, right? Some days the weeds grow faster than the flowers. The important thing is to just keep showing up and taking care of that garden, even when it's hard.
That's a great way to put it. And if you keep doing that, you'll probably find that the best things happen when you least expect them. You might find strengths you didn't know you had, or discover new passions, or even feel a stronger connection with yourself and the world around you. And remember, you have the power to choose how you feel. You can choose to nourish yourself with practices that bring you joy, that connect you with others, and that make you feel grounded.
So take what you liked from Bronwen Logan's post and start taking care of your own well-being today. Thanks for joining us. We hope you found it helpful.